Hi everyone!
Hi.
Welcome to Google AdSense live stream, and today we'll be talking about a couple of topics. So what we'll be covering today, Aru?
So today we'll talk about growing ad viewability, and also we'll talk a little bit about AMP.
Awesome. So maybe before we start, we're gonna introduce ourselves a little bit.
Mhm.
Aru, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So hi everyone, my name is Aru, and I work on helping partners implementing AMP pages on different Google channels such as Google Search, Play Newsstand, and Google News.
My name is Jenny, and my job is to help high potential publisher. So my role is to help them on business strategy, particularly on monetization. So I guess without further ado, let's go on the agenda of content that we'll be covering today. So we'll start off about the definition and how we measure viewability and why does that matters for publisher. We also gonna share the perspective of advertiser when it comes to viewable ads. And also we'll be sharing a couple of best practices on how to make sure that your ad is viewable. And then we are really fortunate today that we have Aru that will be sharing the overview of AMP and how AMP can help a web publisher. In the last part, we will have a Q&A. So thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your questions before the live stream start. We'll try our best to answer the most common theme of questions that has been asked. So, Aru, quick question. For all the materials that we'll be presenting today,
Right.
how can the publisher download the material?
So you just need to go to the link that's presented here. So get your notes and write it down. Go there and follow the instructions, and then you can download the content on the site.
Awesome. And or you can also use the link that is provided at the bottom right-hand corner of the microsite, and you'll be able to download the material there. So you can wait about 3 or 4 working days. We'll be sending the deck shortly after. So first thing first, what is viewability? So as you know that as website, we are trying to populate more and more content on the website. Most of the time, the website is getting really long. And for example, if a publisher have 3 ad unit, the first ad unit is placed on the top, one in the middle, and one at the bottom. Most of the time, the visitor of the website might not scroll all the way down to the content. So what happens if they only look at the middle part of the website? They might not be able to see the ad unit that is at the bottom. So what happened here is that there are 3 ad unit that is loaded. There are 3 ad impression, but in reality, only 2 is actually being seen. So of course, how do we define an ad that's being seen? So by a definition that is given by Media Rating Console, an ad is being seen or viewable if 50% of the area ad pixel are in view by the user for at least 1 second. So first thing first, because there's a lot of question asking about the measurement and the metrics that's being used, I want to share with you this chart, and I hope to simplify this for you. Eligible impression is actually the number of ad impressions that are tagged with active view that has been communicating with Google server. And measurable measurable. So sometimes, even though they are tagged with active view, they are not necessarily measured. Why? Maybe because they use cross-domain iframe, and this affect the measurability of the viewability, or maybe they are using an old AdSense code. That could be also another factor. So percentage measurable of the ads is calculated by the number of measurable impression divided by eligible impression. And in case you're wondering, how do we measure viewable percentage of ads that are being viewable? It's simply, we just take the number of ads that are being visible divided by measurable impression. And this metric itself can be easily seen in AdSense front end. All you need to do is to go to your AdSense front end, click on the performance report. Under advanced report, you can even deep dive into the ad sizes. So you can see the performance of active view of every single ad sizes. For example, if you look at in here for the active view of responsive ad is 48%, it means that every 10 ads, only 5 ads is being seen. Or every 2 ads, only 1 ad is being seen by the user. And of course, you'll ask us, why viewability matters? So there's a saying by Seth Godin, if there is no ad, if no one sees the ad, it's as good as there is no ad. So as you know that brand marketing is a 250 billion market, and most of the time this investment does not goes into digital. It actually goes outside digital. Why? Because there is a question whether or not the ads in digital is being seen. So by having a good standard of visible ads, this is actually the first step for us to attract this investment that in turn can increase the potential revenue for publisher. In fact, nowadays, advertisers actually buy based on viewable impression, be it in open auction or programmatic. For example, in programmatic, buyers regularly looking for above the fold ads, which is the ads that has the maximum viewability inventory. And in scaled programmatic campaign, buyers actually cherry pick impression based on the viewability criteria. For example, they put a high bid for ad that has more than 70% viewability criteria and lower the bid as the viewability drops. In open auctions such as AdWords, buyers actually buy either by viewable CPM or CPC. And also in double-click bid manager, buyers actually able to target and optimize of viewability. I will show the screenshot shortly to explain the terms better. So in case you're wondering, Google Display Network has been viewability based since 2015. What does it mean? It means buyers will only get paid when the ad is shown on the screen. As such, the bid would be concentrated on viewable impression. So there's a lot of you that ask, how do I make sure that I have the best RPM? How do I make sure that I have the best CPC? The answer is very simple. Make sure that your ads has a quality inventory with very high viewability. And of course, for those that buys bid based on CPC, it's also important to take note that only ads that are seen, they are able to see. Even if you put the ads, they are not visible by the user. Even though the CPC is high, the CTR might be really low, and this in turn devaluate your ad inventory. In terms of double-click bid manager, the users or the buyers are able to target inventory based on active view. So please bear in mind, it's really important if you want to make sure that you have the highest bid on your inventory. And also not only that, now the double-click bid manager buyers are able to optimize their buying based on viewable CPM. So the more viewable your ads, the highest the number of demand, and in turn, this will increase the bid and the value of your inventory. And this has been bringing a really good impact on the buyers. In fact, the viewable CPM has been increased by 80%, and this has been benefiting a lot of publishers, especially those that has been implementing ads in the right way. And not only that, revenue has been increased 3 times. This is because of the demand increase and the CPM increase. However, average publisher viewability is below 50%. In fact, 58% of ad impression is not being seen. And this is actually an opportunity for you guys because there's a lot more and more demand for viewable impression, while currently there are not much publisher that currently optimizing. So by optimizing your viewability more than 70%, this is actually creating a marketplace advantage for publisher. And then of course you'll ask, so what specific metric that will affect my revenue as a web publisher? So first thing first, as I mentioned, if the ads are not being seen, obviously the ads will be unlikely to be clicked. So by having a viewable impression, your CTR performance will also increase. In fact, we did a research and we found out that, for example, in high-end mobile device or mobile traffic, if you increase your viewability range from 40 to 60%, to 60 to 80%, you will have a CTR increase of 2.2 times. And this trend is even more prevalent in desktop, actually. For example, if you're increasing from the 40 to 60 bucket to 80 to 100% viewability bucket, your CTR actually increased by 16.7 times. So this is definitely able to increase your revenue because your CTR increased. In fact, we did a research and we found out that increase in viewability has a really positive trend with higher eCPMs. So the more viewable your ads, the more people click, the more revenue, and the higher the eCPM. So now that you learn how important it is to have a good viewability, we're going to share with you a couple of best practices to help to ensure that you have a good visible ads. First thing first, do you remember why iframes is important, Arun?
Well, because iframe can embed um, other HTML documents on your page.
Correct, correct. And we also mentioned about the measurable impressions, right?
Yes.
So use not be measured by viewability solution.
Mm.
So this actually decrease your viewability. So make sure that you use friendly solutions to help to better measure viewability. Avoid make sure that your website is responsive. As you know that users are more and more advanced, they are actually visiting your website in multi-screens, not only desktop, but also tablets and mobile smartphone. Make sure that your site is optimized in all screen so that it will help the mobile audience engage more. And this actually will help your viewability rates to go up. Why? Because when user feel that the UX is good, they might want to stay and read your content longer. They will scroll deeper, and this in turn will give more chance for them to encounter more ads. And as an ads best practices, first thing first, this is actually a very fundamental thing that I strongly recommend to publisher. Make sure that you have a unique ad units for every different ad sizes and placement. Why? Because by having differentiating all this ad unit, you're able to do an A/B test later in the future. And for every single task that you do, you can look at how optimal it is. So the cool thing is that when you have this ad unit distinct, uh, very distinct, you can go to common reports and then click under ad units, and then you can sort based on the largest impression to the lower impression, and then you can look through the content and see which ad unit you can optimize. For example, in responsive ads, which is the highest impression ad unit, the active viewability is 37.4. What does it mean? It means that only about for every 10 ads, these ads is only be seen by 4 people. So with that, you can take a look at an opportunity for you to change the location or placement of these ads. And of course, you will ask, where should we put the ads? So we highly recommend to put the ads right above the fold. So yes, indeed, above the fold ads have higher chances of being discovered than below the fold. But of course, above the fold is such a big area, right? So where is the most optimal placement? So if you look at this image, in the desktop area on the left, there is a yellow banner, blue banner, and the red banner. Actually, the performance is the best on the red banner. I will explain it to you shortly. And for those of you who are using horizontal ad, especially on desktop, we recommend you to put it just right above the fold. And then, of course, coming back to the question, why does the area above the fold is performing the best? So for example, in this chart, we did a research and we found out that for a typical news site, this number is, by the way, hypothetical based on average industry standard. We found out that the RPM, CTR, and viewability is the highest at the premium rectangle. What I want you guys to see on this chart is that first, viewable rate and CTR has a positive correlation. And in turn, has a positive correlation with your RPM. Why does the premium rectangle has the best performance? One thing that you can notice, because it is actually right next to the content, because this is the area where users are the most engaged. And most of the time, maybe when they open the website, they will see the website page speed is 10. And if let's say you put the banner on the top and the website page speed is not too good, what happened would be maybe the ads is not loaded yet, and then user already scroll down, and that's in fact actually affect the viewability. And also, for if you have a website that are video, gaming, and quiz type, we recommend to put the ads near the place where users are the most engaged with. Why? Because user will spend more time there, and there is a high chance that they will take a look at your ads and click on the ads. But a little bit word of caution here, if you are putting your ads near the menu item, make sure that the menu is not dropped down and covering parts of the ads, because there will be policy violation. And also for number 6, we recommend to use responsive ad unit. And there's a couple of questions. How come my responsive ad unit is not performing that optimal? So the The reason is that perhaps most of the time users are not controlling the responsive ad unit or optimizing the responsive ad unit. You can actually dictate for every the size of the ad unit for every single screen, and this makes sure that your ad sizes is performing the best. For example, using this code, you can dictate that you want to have 320 times 100 for the ad unit, except for a site that has a width of 500 pixel, which is a tablet, you want an ad unit that is 468 times 60 pixel. And then maybe for desktop, which is the largest screen, with the width more than 800 pixel, you can even dictate the ad responsive ad unit to show ads that are bigger, such as 728 times 90. So the key selling point here is that you should make sure that you optimize the size of the responsive ad unit at every screen. So what happened most of the time is that you're using an automatic responsive ad unit. So in the desktop, in mobile, the ad unit is so small, and it might not be the ad unit size that are highly demanded. It might not be the ad unit size that has the best viewability. That in turn gives you the low, not an optimal RPM. So this code you will be able to get once you download the material. So don't forget to download the material later. And also for those of you who are having a lot of desktop traffic, we on mobile and tablet traffic, we recommend you to consider using vertical ads. Why vertical ads? Vertical ads are very tall unit, and this has a larger chance for them to stay in the screen for more than 1 second. And this in turn will increase the viewability. Of course, every different country and different vertical will behave differently in terms of demand and supply. But if you have a high traffic in mobile, tablet, as well as desktop, we recommend you to at least try 300 times 600 or 160 times 600. And for those of you who have a high mobile web traffic, what will be the recommended size? Arun.
Well, of course, 300 to 50.
Perfect. Yes, either 300 times 250 or 336 times 280. But do take note here, viewability does not allow these large rectangular ads to be above the fold, the whole unit to be above the fold. Why? Because it will push the content down. It's not good for user experience. And this in turn actually leads to policy violation. So make sure that if you want to use this ad unit, 300 times 250 or 336 times 280, make sure that you have a content first before you put the ad unit. And then you can put it just the pick on the fold. And not only that, actually, if you put the large ad unit before the content, what happened is that after sometimes user know about it and they will quickly scroll down. And what happened is that the ads is not being loaded before the user scroll down. So it won't give you any benefit as well. And as an additional tips, if you are currently using 300 times 50 as a leaderboard, we recommend you to swap it and try 320 times 100. Now, the question is, will all this recommendation work for your website? The short answer is we don't know, because every website vertical, every website layout, every website visitors, and every website market behave differently. This is the recommendation that we feel generally doing really well in the market. However, every website is unique. So we recommend you to always do an A/B test. How can you do an A/B test? For example, maybe you can do a different placement for 1 week and then take a look at how the ad unit perform. Is the viewability increase? Is the CTR increase? Is the overall RPM and revenue increase? If that is the case, then you can continue using that placement. Otherwise, you can always try a different recommendation. And also take note, high viewability sizes won't necessarily guarantee the highest CPM. Yes, most of the time it correlates. However, do take note that CPC is really based on demand and supply. So if certain ad sizes are more demanded, then the CPC will be much higher. So the viewability itself will actually help you to make sure that assuming the same ad sizes, you will have the better CPC. So now we already talk about what to do with your website. We talk about the best practices of the ad unit, and then now we will talk about the speed. of course, you'll ask us why should we concern about the speed? So we did a survey about what is the most disliked thing when they are browsing through mobile device. And we found out that waiting for a slow page to load is actually the number one voted as the least like or dislike. So in other words, user actually dislike slow website more than maybe encountering interstitial ads or any other thing. So this is really important not only for user retention, but actually mobile web viewability is extremely responsive to page speed. In fact, we did a research and we found out that slow website, there's about an increase of 1 to 2% in viewability. And so we can conclude that PageSpeed not only able to increase user bounce rate, it also increase user engagement, which increase page view per visit, session length. It also increase the better ad performance because the ad would load faster as well. And first thing first, for those of you who never really optimize the page speed, you can actually use this free tool by Google to measure how good is your page speed performance and look at a customized recommendation for your website. All you need to do is Google page speed inside. You'll be able to find this link, and then you can just copy paste the content page. I recommend content page instead of homepage of your website, and then you'll be able to see how your website is performing on the mobile as well as desktop. And our recommendation is to aim for 85 and above. If you have below 65, make sure that this is going to be one of your priority for the next 3 months. And then, of course, the next question is, now I found out that maybe my page speed needs to be improved. How can we do that? So the first thing first, if you're using ad network that relies a lot on passback, we recommend to minimize it. Rather than using a lot of passback, maybe if you are using multiple ad network, you can use solution like DFP and optimize it with good fill rate, frequency capping, as well as optimize CPM. That way, you'll minimize passback, and this will increase the viewability. And also, consider a lazy loading. So make sure that you focus on loading content and ads that are in view. That way, you can reduce unnecessarily ad loads that in turn reduce your viewability and reduce the marketability of your inventory. And then also, by using infinite scroll with lazy loading, this actually enable you to load long content and enable user to engage with more ads without sacrificing the speed of the website in the initial page. And not only that, we strongly recommend asynchronous loading with Google Publisher Tag API and AdSense Tag. So what does it mean? It means instead of loading the content first and then loading the ads later, depending on the needs and priority of your website, you might want to consider and experimenting loading the ads together with the content. That way, it will reduce the probability when user have to scroll down before the ads is loading. And this in turn will actually increase the viewability and the CTR. And lastly, consider AMP. And of course, you'll be curious about what is AMP. I will pass it over to Arudea shortly. Stay tuned. But just a quick recap. If you want to know more about viewability, we have a couple of resources that you'll be able to access once you download this deck. And not only that, I would like to summarize the best practices to make sure that you get the best viewability. First, in terms of ad placement, remember to always put your ads where the ads is being seen at least 50% of the pixel area for more than 1 second. So you should be able to identify the most engaging part of your content. For example, there's a question, I have a lot of text. Where should I put my ads? So if you have a long text, usually most of the time user will skim through on the sub headline. So maybe you can put the ads near the sub headline or whichever posting area that user will put more attention to. And secondly, ad sizes. You can try taller ad sizes. Also take note of the mobile web best practices sizes, such as 300 times 250, 336 times 280, and also keep doing an A/B test so that you get the most optimal value for your website. And lastly, page speed is important. Make sure that you have a fast speed website so that the ad is loading on time. And not only that, to ensure that user have a good retention and good engagement with your website so that they will come back and they will scroll down your content and expose to more ads. So without further ado, I will pass over to Aru.
Cool. Thank you, Jenny. Very cool insight. Very relevant to monetizations, I guess. So yeah, so I'll talk about accelerated mobile pages. So let's start about this. So today, users actually demand performance, and they reward them heavily, right? So in one of our studies, we found that actually 75% of mobile sites take 10 plus seconds to load, in spite of like knowing these facts, right? And we also see that 53% of mobile site visitors leave after 3%. After 3 seconds of load time. So after 3 seconds of load time, users are just, I'm not gonna wait for this. I'm just gonna go out and look information on other sites. And following up on the research that on viewability that Jenny mentioned before, we also see an increase in revenue, not only viewability if you have a faster mobile site. So it's actually twice revenue when you have 5 seconds load time versus 19 seconds load time. So that's a very cool increase. Um, yes, but as you see before, a lot of these sites not actually meet these demands. So we see a lot of sites that slow load, the pages are unresponsive. There's a lot of content that are displaced by ads, like you said, when people are putting ads on top of the content. People that want to engage with content actually seeing ads, and they when they just want to see content, they tend to just move away from the page and find other pages that actually give more content to them. Yeah, so this is the myth, right? So that's actually like this is the myth and the perception that we had before, that actually maintaining a fast mobile website on your own can often require large development teams or specialized skill sets, right? So that's the perception that we have in the mobile development world up until now. But that's why Google start to enable yet open the website fast and also monetize well. So we want to have so the AMP team wants to have a good holistic experience on both the users, the publishers, and also advertisers. It's so we'll have a good experience on the mobile web. So what does AMP provide for publishers and websites? For for publishers and websites, you can have a compelling user experience, like a very good user experience, right? So you have near instant loading. It's very smooth scrolling, highly engaging for users, and it's also very flexible. You can easily format the site. You can implement your own layout. So in terms of your branding and styling, it's super flexible, and it also has a lot of opportunities for distribution. It's AMP project is, like I mentioned before, it's actually an open source project. So it's not only exclusive to Google. So it's also distributed to Bing. Bing search is also now supporting AMP. We have Google, Twitter, LinkedIn, Medium, and Pinterest, and a lot more. Yes. So like to get all those benefits, you have to start implementing apps, right? So what does AMP build on? So right now, AMP is built on three core components. So AMP HTML, that's the core AMP building block, and then you have AMP JavaScript. That's the only JavaScript that's actually allowed on AMP HTML documents. So the AMP team heavily optimize these JavaScript performances for so the page can actually load faster and the helps to lower high blockage that JavaScript sometimes give you. We also have AMP cache that will help serving content much faster, closer in a closer physical location to the actual user that loading these pages. Yes, so AMP pages support very good customization and flexibility, like you see here, for different verticals like news and also e-commerce. You can have different kind of banners that you want. You can put different kind of different places for your logo. You can optimize for e-commerce user experience and so on. So if your site is image heavy like Vogue, you can also um, like you can also optimize for those kind of experiences. So it's super flexible, super easy to implement. So I think this is one question I want to know about
Yeah,
right
there's
now.
a lot of question actually about monetizing with AMP.
Yes. So on about monetizing your AMP pages. So AMP pages, you can easily choose experiences with a lot of flexible formats, which we'll talk more about later. And you can replicate these models with different, like a lot of different ad tech integrations. So we have around 70 plus ad tech providers that's already supporting AMP, and we're and the team actually working with more ad providers to integrate more of them into the AMP project. So you can also, if you're based on, if you have a website that's based on subscriptions, you can also limit access for subscription, create paywalls and those kind of stuff. And also we have like a, a good analytics um,
That able.
experience, yeah, that can track engagement and ROI on your all your ads and monetization implementation. Yes, so these are the formats that AMP support, like some of the formats that AMP support. So we have your regular banner ads, we have your sticky ads, and we have the flying carpet format that loads behind the content. And then you also have native promoted content, and you also have video ads for your video players. So for video ads, it will show on right now only on the supported video players. You can find those supported video players in amproject.org. You can see all the list of the supported video players. You can see the list of all the supported providers, and how to technically implement ads and create AMP documents. You can see everything in amproject.org. And if you cannot find the supported um, video players as of now, you can always use the AMP iframe elements. It's a special iframe element that's been formatted for AMP, and that will load these iframe content faster. So there's a lot of different ways to implement ads and your video content on AMP, and you can always find the way there. Um, like in addition to these formats is actually you can use them with different ad tech providers, right? So right now we have already so many analytics and ad tech providers that have joined the AMP project. So 70% ad service, 70 plus ad service and networks have already supported MHTML. 25 plus analytics and viewability vendors are compatible with AMP right now. So if you can seamlessly implement them in your AMP pages if you haven't created one. Yeah, so you can embed formats across social video.
I can also emphasize here,
Yeah.
AdSense is already part of the ad network that's supported by AMP.
Mm.
And for those of you who are using DFP, this is also supported by AMP, right?
Yes, so DFP, Google Analytics,
Mhm.
AdSense, it's all supported by AMP. And check out all the supported ad tech providers studies that we did with different publishers. So we use analytics, and these are some examples of these case studies. You can see more again on the site.
Yeah, again, like different publisher have different objective, right? Some
Right.
publisher wants more retention, some publisher more engagement, more monetization,
Yes.
and this is really just a nice portrayal on how AMP can help them to achieve this.
Yes. So, like the MP format that helps with page speed, it helps with different things for like different publishers. Like like time, they actually see more engagement on their site. They see 13% increase in time spent on the site. Washington Post also see higher retention, so they see a 23 more return on 7 days active users, and you see there's also audience growth and different kind um, of partners, and of course you can these partners actually focus on different type of optimizations, and yes, so different kind of optimizations can lead to different kind of results and everything, and uh, like Jenny said earlier, use A/B testing to know
Is the best for your
what is the
website.
best for you. Find out what's how your users actually behave on your site, what's best for them, and optimize based on your data. Yeah. So after you see all of this, uh, well, AMP actually help with page speed. It helps with retention. It has different options on monetization and analytics. So how do you get start with AMP? So it's actually super easy. So if you use a CMS, you can use their support. So Drupal, Hatena, Marfield, Squarespace, and WordPress actually have already integrated with AMP. So they have their own plugin that will help you automatically create AMP. Use their support. So whenever you have any questions on how this plugin works, how they will help with how it will help with your ad implementation, analytic implementation. If things doesn't work on your end, you can always talk to these CMS providers. So if you use Drupal and then you have some problems with app implementation on Drupal, you can go right away to Drupal customer support and then ask them about it. If you want to start creating your own AMP site, AMP pages, you can just go straight to ampproject.org. You can see all the full documentations there, and also you can go to GitHub if you want to contribute on new codes. If you think there's if you actually know an ad provider that needs to be on AMP project, go to GitHub, um, and then make a request saying that, hey, I think this ad provider will be valuable if it's available on AMP project, and then the team will kind of go through it and um,
Prioritize.
prioritize these requests, um, yeah, as soon as possible. Right. So I think that's everything on my side. So we'll just gonna go straight to Q&A.
So there's already a couple of questions. We did prepare some of the questions already. So since we're talking about AMP, there's a lot of interest from the audience that they want to improve ad viewability in AMP, but they don't know how to do it. Do you have a tips?
Yes. So this is basically just use. Well, this is recycling your recommendation on ad viewability. So it's actually using lazy loading and asynchronous load. So how do you do this in AMP? Is in your AMP add element, you can add this attribute. So you can add the data loading strategy attribute and use prefer viewability over views. So if you use this, the ad will lazy load and load asynchronously. So by default, if you don't use this, everything will be loaded and served at the same time, and then maybe lower the chance of being viewed.
I see. So actually, with this, you can even control the ads being loaded first before the content. Is that what you're saying?
Um, Not really. So this is basically saying that the ads will be loaded when it's needed to.
I see. Got it.
So yeah.
That's perfect. So yeah, guys, you can try this tips, and hopefully that it will improve your ad viewability in AMP pages. And then also there's a lot of questions like how many ads can I have on my site? If I have a link ad unit, is it considered a normal ad unit? So thank you so much for that question. So we always continuously listen to feedback from customers, and then we decided that to revise our policy. So now we don't have a particular fixed number of ads maximum per page, but it really depends on the number of content that you have on the website. We want to incentivize publishers who have good quality content, a very comprehensive content to monetize more. So as long as your content is more than a number of ads, then it should be legalized in AdSense. So just make sure that it's you are clear about the definition of what is ads and what is content. So the definition of ads is not only AdSense or Google Ads; it's also any ads and any advertorial content. And then for the content itself, definition is any content that is original and value added and not a scrappy content. So as long as you have more content than ads, you are free to use any number of ads. I hope that's clarified. And but of course, you might want to think about it. Like it's not just about the number of ad placement, but the number of ad placement that is optimal. So imagine you have you put 10 amount of ad units because you have such a long page, but in reality, user only scroll all the way into the middle, and then a lot of ads in the bottom is actually not being seen. Or maybe let's say worst scenario, the bottom ads is only seen by let's say 1% of the user, and let's say they only contribute additional $10 to your website. Is this unit worth to be there? Because there's always an opportunity to increase the content quality. So that's my recommendation. So if you feel that certain ads are not performing really well, and then you cannot do a modification on the placement, and I would recommend you to consider should that ad unit be used or not. My recommendation is to test for a week with and without that ad unit and see what's your impact on user retention on analytics, what's the impact of the overall revenue, and it I won't be surprised that if you use less ads, if that ads is not really performing really well, you actually have more revenue. So that's something to consider as well. And then, of course, there's a lot of questions. Hey, Jenny, what affects my revenue trend? So revenue is actually such a complex data, but let me try my best to make it simple. So the first thing first, what you can do is to go to AdSense performance report, and then maybe you can take a look at for 1 year traffic, and then see how the revenue is performing. And then you can click on, let's say, page view, and then you see, is this revenue decline as the page view decline? Because let's say if the page view decline and revenue decline, then most likely it's nothing to do with the ad network. It most likely to do with the the website traffic itself. And then the next question is that you can take a look at the ad viewability as well. If you did an additional ad placement or you modify the placement of the ads recently, because that way you can see maybe you have the same number of page view, you have the same number of ad units, but or maybe you add more ad units, but the performance of the ad unit is not as good. The number of ad units that are being exposed to the user is not increasing as much, which in return actually means that less click, and in return less earning. So first suspect is page view, and then you can take a look at the active view, and then of course there's a lot of other factors such as CPC, and also a lot like for example on the layout, the user targeting, that also makes a lot of impact. So also on this question, a lot of you ask what factors affect CPC. So CPC is very complex. So in simplicity, CPC depends on demand and supply. So the more demand from advertiser, the more higher the CPC, and the more supply from publisher, the lower the CPC. It's just like a marketplace. And this demand and supply of CPC, it's affected by a lot of factors. One is the ad sizes. So for example, maybe a lot of advertiser is targeting on 300 times 250, but you're using an ad unit of 300 times 50. So there's a mismatch between demand and supply. So you are not benefiting from the ad units that are commonly used by advertiser. So number two is seasonality. It's very possible to have really high CPC at the end of the year versus maybe in the middle of the year or even in the beginning of the year because of the behavior or the habit of advertiser when it comes to purchasing their advertising needs. So for every single market that your website has a presence, do ask yourself which season does the advertiser invest a lot, and this is most likely the period where the CPC will have a high chance that see. And then another thing is geographical and socio-demographic of your user. So for example, geographic, as I mentioned, is demand and supply, right? Different country, the advertiser would bid at different prices and bid at different kind of users. So do bear in mind it's also. So for example, maybe the amount of price in country A, the CPC bid for the same type of user is different from country B. So bear that in mind. And also, for example, you have an international website, and then you have 1 million user in 2014, and then you have 1 million user in 2015. But the CPC maybe changes, either increase or decrease. This could be because the percentage of user from that geography might changes. So, for example, in the previous year, you have more user from high CPC country. Of course, that will affect the overall CPC performance of the market. And then the last part is the user segment. So let's say whether user is female or male, what age they are, what's the socioeconomic. This actually also plays an important role on the CPC because remember, advertisers always bid based on this criteria. So I hope that answers the questions. And thank you so much for your questions on that. And also, there's a lot of questions about policy, a lot of questions on support related. You can actually get helps by logging into the Google AdSense Help Center. You can just quickly Google AdSense Help Center or key in this URL. This is actually like an encyclopedia where you can get all the information about policy, how to make sure that you implement ads compliantly, how to implement ads, and what's the best practice of the implementation. And if you cannot find your answer there, you can even contact our support team as long as your revenue is about 25 USD per week. Make sure that you are logged on with your AdSense account on your Chrome browser or your basically browser, and you'll be able to see this contact us form, and you can send right into our support team. And yeah, I think we can ask more questions. Aru, do you want to select some of the questions?
Right. So yeah. So actually, there's a question about AMP
Mhm.
here. So there's a question asking that. Well, I actually have more page views on mobile devices,
Mhm.
but when I started using AMP, my ads view actually decreases. Right. So what to do about that?
Mhm.
So I think these I think the first thing that you need to do is actually to understand why this happened, right? So look into your analytics, you look into your ad performance statistics, um, and see what's different between your mobile site and your AMP site, right? Um, so yeah, so the first thing to do is actually to create different ad units for your AMP site and mobile site, so you can easily track their performance. One thing that might be happening here is that because AMP content is faster and on your faster, ads view probably decreases. So like we said, ad placement actually plays a very critical role in in increasing ad viewability.
That is also a reason why when you're looking for ad stays above the fold, it's not actually the most top ad that is performing the best, but actually the one that is near the fold
Yeah.
after the content, because it will take time for user to read the content on top,
Yeah.
and meanwhile the ad is loading, and that way the engagement will be better.
Yes.
And maybe I will pick some questions. So there's a question from Dhruv Tiwari. What if I add too many ads on page? Will it increase ad viewability? or having less amount of ads will work fine. So I think this is very similarly. Too many ads, of course different people have different definition of too many ads, but I would say always to observe your ad viewability and look at the CTR and how the RPM perform. So if the ads is not performing that well, the first action is always to try to see if you can either change the ad sizes or you change the ad placement to make sure that they are performing better. Or if you feel that there is no way for you to add more because other ad slots are already taken, then in that case, you might want to reconsider or even experiment to remove that ad unit. And then, okay, I think maybe I'll answer another question from Go Peyong. I understand it's a little bit sensitive to talk about CPC rate here, but I have an issue regarding the worthiness to invest in local audience. Malaysia has a currency rate of USD 1 equivalent to Malay ringgit of 4.6 now, and I'm about to start investing on building the local audience in Malaysia. The question is, if I have 1 million traffic from the US and another 1 million traffic from Malaysia, will the CPC and or CPM rate having any relation with the currency? Let's say we are doing the same niche. This might make me rethink the investing or local audience or not. So again, when it comes to investment, I believe it's about ROI, right? So how much you're spending and how much you're earning from the ad revenue. So I think there are two factors that you should think about here. One is the cost of acquisition of that user because you need to invest, right, to acquire this user. How much it is to acquire user in US versus how much it is to acquire a user in Malaysia. That's number one. And also different country have different strategy and competitive landscape, right? So which market is actually for that particular niche that you're working on, which one is the easiest for you to gain advantage on? And number two, when it comes to revenue or ad revenue itself, of course the CPC will be different because the advertiser that are bidding for Malaysia users and advertiser that are bidding for US user definitely will be different. So the question is not whether or not the ad revenue in Malaysia would, for example, it might be maybe the CPC in Malaysia could be lower, but the cost per ad will be higher in Malaysia. So each dollar that you spend, which one gives you the highest ROI? So I think that should be your key determining factor in investing certain market. Hope that helps.
So yeah, I'll look to into more questions here.
Maybe in front.
Okay. Mm, let's see. Right. Okay. So I have a questions here from Samaksh Arora. So everyone actually wants a web page that loads quickly, and for this purpose, AMP pages are introduced. But ads actually takes a lot of time to show the visitors. So does the AMP team actually look into it and take care on how ads on a web page actually appear quickly and visible to viewer in a quicker time period? Well, the I have a good news. So actually, the team is actually looking into this. So they are working on things that are called AMP ads and AMP landing pages. So this will be usable for advertisers that creates creative and then landing pages to be able to benefit from the same AMP experience. So
That's really cool.
yeah. So in that case, so you won't have that um, difference in loading time between the content and the ads in the future. So it will be launching soon. I think it will be sometimes in 2017. I Yeah, so it will be soon.
Any hint like H1, H2?
I'm
Okay,
not
no.
sure. Like I don't
Okay,
know the
got it.
details yet, but yeah, it will be coming soon, and it will help publishers to have better ads viewability, and also for advertisers to have better ROI on their ads. So in this case, well, AdWords, the Google AdWords is actually one of the ad provider that's working with the AMP team to create this experience for all users.
Really nice.
Mm.
Maybe I'll try to answer one or two more questions. So Ricky D is asking number one, what is the best placement for ads above the fold, header, sidebar, and of posts or between content? So again, the best ad placement is always to have at least one above the fold or at least one pick above the fold for mobile, and make sure that you have it right near to the fold, not too top, because sometimes the ad might, if your page speed is not fast enough, the ad might load before after user already scrolling down. So that's number one. And also for the next placement, always try to find the area of the page where user engage the most, where they spend the most time. So because when they are reading, for example, if you have a recipe website, most likely user will look at the ingredients, right? What they should set up and all this kind of stuff. So probably that would be a good place to put an ad. And if you have sports website, you want to look at the result, who wins, for example, in the competition. So that's place where you can put an ad. So just imagine for your own website, which area is the most engaging and which area is where users really want to see the most. And that's might be the best place with the best viewability. And then the second question from Ricky is, how many ads should I use in one page for better earning? So again, case by case basis, depending on your website. So you might, maybe in policy wise, if you have a long website, you can have a lot more ads. But in reality, you should ask yourself, do user actually scroll down all the way? You need to take a look at the analytics. You need to take a look at the viewability of different ad units in different part of the website. From there, you get an idea. Majority of the user will stay until which part of the website. So I hope that answer your question, and maybe I'll try to answer one more question. Okay, Ficus, we're asking, we are receiving too many mobile visitors at our website. Please tell the right solution to increase the ad viewability for mobile users. So first of all, as I mentioned, usage of peak 300 times 250 or 336 times 280, just at the peak of the fold. Remember not to have it on the top because it's policy violation, and make sure that you have a content on top of that. And number two, if you're currently still using 300 times 50, make sure that you have 320 times 100 instead. And tertiarily, if you still haven't tried the page level ads, that is actually really good in improving your RPM as well as your viewability. So consider that as well. And also, this is just a disclaimer. Google AdSense actually has a lot of beta features that are coming up, and this might come to general availability soon. So stay tuned for that. Always take a look at our AdSense blog. There might be exciting new features coming up, and we hope that that will give you the best performance ads for you. So I guess that is all. I just want to make a recap. So viewability is important for publisher because first of all, now advertiser will actually cherry pick the inventory that are the most visible. So the higher the viewability rate of your website, the better would be your the amount of demand for your inventory. So that's number one. And number two, if your ads is not visible, how can somebody look at it and click, right? So you want to improve your CTR by improving your viewability. And number three, page speed is actually really important. If your page is really slow, what happened was that not only it takes time for them to load the content, it also takes time for them to load the ads. What happened is that a lot of time you put the ads on the top, but user already scroll down before the ads able to load. So do take note. And number four, the learning of the day. In Google, we are now getting more and more flexible in the number of ads that you can use as long as they are more than the content, as long as they are content than ads. However, it doesn't mean that you want to spam with ads, right? You want to make sure that you have a sustainable business. You want to make sure that you have less ads but more obvious placement, so performance is better. And lastly, you can consider AMP as a very easy tools to boost your website speed.
Yes.
So with that, thank you so much for attending today. We really hope that it's helpful for you. Just a little bit of reminder, if you want to download today's material, you can do so by using this link or downloading top on the bottom right hand corner of the website.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to send you the deck in 3 or 4 working days. So thank you so much for your help and hope to see you in next live stream.
Yes. Thank you very much.